Hi, everyone. Welcome to Art and Talk. Thank you so much for being with us today. If you're new to us, Art and Talk is an online interviewing platform for artists to share their art and their creativity and their passion. Art and Talk is all about meeting artists and being inspired. I'm Leslie Sue, the host for Art and Talk. If you are an artist working in any creative field and you'd like to be interviewed on Art and Talk, please send an email to us at viewoftheartist@gmail.com and we'll get back to you with scheduling and information. All right, so today our guest is a singer-songwriter, and she's in the style of folk Americana, but it expands a bit on that. We'll be diving into her musical journey and finding out what that's all about, and she'll also be performing for us as well. All right, so again, thanks for being with us today, and I'd like to welcome our guest for today, Gay Blott. Hi, Gay, welcome.
Hi, Leslie. It's a pleasure being here. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, welcome to Art and Talk. All right, so singer-songwriter. Tell us a little bit about your origins, if you would, Gay, so we can get a little bit of a feel for how all this kind of began.
Yeah, certainly. Well, I've always started off my life as a singer, and I've always been a singer, sang all the way through school, and I've always been I've always enjoyed writing poetry and, sort of bits of prose and bits and pieces. And it's just recently, over the last three years now, that I've really started songwriting as such. I've always sung, I've always sort of played music,
Mhm.
but the catalyst, I think, was picking up a guitar. Now, I live with a guitarist. I've lived with a guitarist for almost 30 years. Um, and about 3 years ago, I decided that it was about time that I started to play guitar. And by doing that, I think it allowed me to, all these thoughts and ideas and things that have been milling about in my head for years, I had somewhere to, just another platform to express with. And so that's basically how I started my songwriting.
Mhm. So singing was natural to you, is what it sounds like, Gay, from when you were young, and you were writing poetry, so you kind of had this fondness for words and flow, so that kind of translated nicely into songwriting. And then when you started to pick up to play guitar, how did things change for you? I know you were saying it, gave you a new vehicle of expression, but did it help you in terms of your songwriting and singing? Like how did that introduction of that instrument, of you playing it, not somebody else, kind of change the dynamics of your creativity and your music?
Rather than having to try and explain myself, and explain what I wanted out of a piece of music, or explain what I wanted out of a melody, being able to sort of pick up the guitar and sort of work on the chord structures and things myself, um, was a real sort of, the ability to do that, um, made it an awful lot more easy for me to express what I wanted out of my writing.
Mhm.
Which doesn't mean to say that, there are songs that I have written that I've put a basic chord structure to, and then, my husband, who is also the other half of my sort of duo that I'm involved with, you know, takes it and expands on what's been, what I've done, but it allows me to really sort of say, well, this is the feel for the song. This is the way that I want the melody to go. This is the way that, the song, the actual structure of the song is. So it's made a big difference. Yeah, it's made a huge difference. It just, being able to play an instrument, and rather than trying to explain yourself, you know.
Mhm.
For
Yeah.
me anyway.
Yeah. So in terms of your subject matter, as far as what you write about, what inspires you, Gay? What when you sit down and you write, what is it that are the areas that bring the most meaning to you?
I take inspiration from lots of different things and lots of different places.
Mhm.
Some songs that I've written are very personal. There are other songs which it's just been a phrase that someone said, or a line that I've heard somewhere, or something that I've read, you know, and something just sticks in your head, or you start developing a story around. A lot of what I write is, I would say a lot of the songs that I write are quite narrative songs. There's an awful lot of storytelling in the songs. Um, and I found that over the sort of pandemic, when we had that major lockdown, um, I've got two dogs, and I've got lovely woodland behind me, behind my house. And so I'd go out every day with the dogs, walk with the dogs. And having the space to, you know, the space around you, you've not got other distractions from other places. All these little ideas, you know, and even there's things from the woodland themselves. You know, there's a couple of songs that I've written about, you know, the woodland, and about, you know, the trees, or, you know, poems that I've written about going, you know, sort of walking in the woods and things like that. So there's so many different places, you know. I mean, I run, as part of what I do, I run a Songwriters Club as well, called Jessies Well Songwriters Club. And part of that is every month we do a song title challenge. So everyone who's involved in the group, one of the members will, you know, will put forward a song title for that month. And it can be anything from, you know, we've had some interesting, but the whole premise is then that everyone goes away and writes their version of a song inspired by that title.
Mhm.
So there's been some great songs that have come out of that, and I've always done my best to try and at least make sure, you know, write a song for every title. You know, so far, and there's some that have stuck, there's some that have fallen by the wayside, you know, but I will, later on, if I'm going to play a few tunes, I'll play one of those songs for you later.
Mhm.
So yeah, so lots of places, everywhere and anywhere.
Mhm.
I get my inspiration.
Right, right. Sounds like your antennas are up where, like in your beautiful area that you live in Scotland, you're the trees, the dogs, as you were saying, personal experiences, or you hear a certain word or phrase, maybe from like a conversation or something, and then like boom, there's an idea.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, it's amazing what can inspire you. You know, sometimes it just can be that. Sometimes it can just be, you know, a choice phrase that someone said. Sometimes it can be a memory. Um, Sometimes you hear something yourself and it invokes a feeling, or it invokes a memory that, you know, that you expand upon in your writing. So many different ways. Yep.
Yeah.
So it's my daughter who's just walked past.
I'm wondering, Gay, in your creative process, do you have a certain like methodology with like the lyrics, with the melody, the chord structure, the song title? Are you like free and open with it? Is there a way that you like to approach it? How does that play out for you?
generally the lyrics come first for me.
Mhm.
I think coming from, you know, a more sort of background where I've, you know, written poetry more and things like that, it's always the lyrics that tend to come first. And as the lyrics come, there's a meter that arrives with that. And as that meter appears, a melody will appear. And the last thing that I do is go to the guitar and work the chord structure around the melody that I've, you know, and the words themselves. So
Mhm.
that tends to be pretty much how it works most of the time for me,
Mhm.
really. Yeah, yeah. Um, yeah.
That's
I'm trying to
interesting. Yeah. It almost
think.
sounds like you're saying like with the words first, it almost sounds like from the words, you know, come like the almost like the musicality, like it's almost
Hmm,
like within the words there's that visual aspect, but there's almost like locked in it that becomes unlocked through your process. At least that's what I'm getting from you, is like all of a sudden the words kind of translate and change form, they kind of transform into music.
that's exactly. Yeah, it becomes a. I think I always sort of develop a sort of concept in my head, or I can visually see the the song, um, or you know the story of the song, um, in my head, almost like a sort of little movie. Um, and I think that's where the you know the sort of more narrative song comes in. You know, because that's how I see a lot of my songs like that.
Wow,
You
that's
know,
interesting. Yeah.
yeah. Hmm.
So you're
Hmm.
seeing it, you have that visual aspect as the narrative, as you're saying, it's all like playing out. So then you're just kind of simply adding the ingredients and kind of putting it all together, but that's kind of already in your mind and your awareness and just kind of playing all that out.
Absolutely. Yep. Sounds about
Oh,
right. Yeah.
wow,
Yeah.
yeah. Now, is there any part that you've just laid out beautifully for us? Thank you, Gay. Any part that is a little bit tricky for you that or any part that you don't enjoy the most, or is it equal, or how does that kind of play out?
No, I do really enjoy every part of songwriting.
Mhm.
There are some parts which are probably slightly more frustrating than others. Um, you know, as in, you know, sort of working on the chord structures and things and finding what you want uh, can take a little bit of time, and it can be a little bit frustrating at times when you can't quite find what you're looking for. Um, but apart from that, I mean, the actual process of songwriting itself is I just love. I really enjoy. I find it quite cathartic, and also quite liberating to do. You know, because um, you've got an opportunity to express feelings that you know otherwise you may not have the ability to do in other ways. So from that respect, yeah, I just love the whole process.
Mhm. That's really beautiful, Gay. So it's as you said, it's like cathartic for you. It's like just it's like having an avenue of expression for the feelings that are held within and able to get them out through music and lyric, melody, and through the guitar, through voice.
Absolutely, yeah,
Um,
absolutely.
You know what? This would be a wonderful moment for us to hear one of your original songs if you'd like to go ahead with that.
Absolutely. Well, I thought that I would play for you. Um, this song is the first song that I wrote on using the guitar, and it's also a very personal song. Um, and it was written about my husband and I's travels around Europe when we were younger, you know, young and free, and living like gypsies, basically, in a way, you know, sort of playing in bars and all that kind of thing. So this is this song, and it's called The Story Goes On. Sitting in a small town in France, watching the people go by. Sun on our faces, cheese and baguettes in our hands, making plans. Here, friendship, some forgotten, some remembered. Year of love and honey, point in time to cherish. Story goes on. Story goes on. Ooh, doo-doo-doo, doo-doo, doo-doo-doo, doo-doo-doo, cathedral bells ringing out in that old Belgian town, living a life that we please, like gypsy kings and queens, you and me. Year of friendship, some forgotten, some remembered. Year of love and heartache, point in time to cherish. Story goes on. Story goes on. Raised voices in the train station, people looking on, watching the show from their coffee shop window. Said you love me then, begged me to stay. And the story goes on. And the story goes on. Do-do-do, do-do, do-do-do, do-do-do, sitting in a small town in France, watching the people go by. Sun on our faces, cheese and baguettes in our hands, making plans. Story goes on. Here we are.
Okay, that was beautiful. Thank you.
It's a pleasure.
Your voice is so enchanting. I just love it. I know I mentioned that to you before with some of the videos I've seen of you, and just listening to your voice is just really just, I think enchanting is like the best word that I feel. It's just beautiful.
That's a lovely compliment. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. I'll take that. Yes.
And you know, as you had set up that song, Gay, as you were singing, I could feel kind of like as you were saying, you know, with your husband, who's also a musician and plays guitar, and you were young, you were kind of gypsy, the story goes on. It's like, I could feel that like kind of continuous, like playing in different places and being young, you're here, you're there. I mean, I feel like you really captured the essence of how you set up the song through the song. I could really kind of identify with that.
Good. Oh, great. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, it's one of these songs that we love to play, and I think it's one of these songs that we'll play forever.
Mhm. Yeah, yeah. I'm wondering, Gay, with having a husband, a significant other who is also a musician and a guitarist, and we'll get into how the two of you have an acoustic duo band, so you're a solo artist, and then you also have that musical aspect as well. What has that been like? You're both musical, you're both active in that, you're kind of on that same wavelength. So how has that played out for you?
Very well, I would say. I mean, Tim and I, when we first met, he was playing in bands and things when we first met, and I wasn't really doing very much at that point. And it was really when we went to France that we decided to actually start singing and playing together, you know, and it was a good way for us to make a bit of extra money on our travels. And then when we came back from our travels, we still continued to play together as a duet, and then with another friend of ours as a trio. And that lasted for quite a while until our sort of children came along, really. And then we took a hiatus, but a lot of our attention ended up going on them musically. So they're all musicians. All three children are musicians.
Mm.
So yeah, no, I think for us, music certainly has been a very central point of a central thing for us. You know, it's always been there. It's always been part of our life together. And I think actually the times when we're not involved with music in some way are the times when we're probably the least happy, if that makes sense. Yeah, so it's always been a big part of our lives. Yeah.
Yeah, wow. Thank you for sharing that. So it's almost like music has been like the glue for your family because, as we said, you know, you're married to a musician and your three children are musicians as well. And the happiest moments are when there's this music that's going on and you're pursuing it and creating it. And that's kind of like the heartbeat, is what it sounds like, of your family and the joy and the glue.
Very much so. Yeah, yeah. And I think we all get a lot of joy, you know, all of us, all five of us as a family. We get an awful lot of joy out of music, and it'll always be, you know, well, yeah, it's the heart of our family, really. Yeah.
Mhm. Are you able to bounce ideas off each other? Does it stimulate a lot of creativity? Ideas that are generated because everyone's kind of a musician. Is that kind of the dynamics there?
In with us, not quite so much. I think everyone is very different.
Mhm.
In my oldest daughter, well, two of my children no longer live at home with me because they're, you know, they're a bit older now. But they have all very different genres that they like to play, different ideas. My son is a songwriter himself, and he writes and produces his own material as well. But again, the stuff he does is very, it's more sort of indie style. It's very current, you know, compared to the more folkier sound that me and my husband have. But I think the nice thing is they've all grown up, although they all have different ideas about what they want to do with their music and where they want to take their music. They've all grown up with a really good appreciation of lots of different styles of music. So it's allowed them to explore, I think, which is the big thing. You know, the ability to actually listen to music from all different genres and take bits from them and explore them, you know, which has been a good thing. But yeah, there's been a few things. My son and I have done a couple of little collaborative things together over the years. And my youngest daughter, Ilsa, she's a fiddle player and things as well. And her and my husband have sort of do bits and pieces together as well. And so we sort of help each other out. But yeah, so that I wouldn't say that do we sort of, yeah, I suppose there's things that the kids have done over the years which I found really quite inspiring, you know, things that they do. And certainly my kids are much better guitarists than I am, and and my daughter Ilse is a much better singer than I am as well. So she's shaking her head in the corner. She's listening in the corner. Yeah, so yeah, we sort of we encourage each other. I wouldn't say that we, you know, work together very much, but we do encourage each other very much so with their music.
Mm-hmm. So the support was there once you realized that your children had, you know, skill and aptitude in music. You were, both you and your husband Tim were right there as support and encouragement. And
I don't think they had much choice. I mean, I think as soon as the kids could hold a guitar, I think their dad was teaching them, you know. And we've always had guitars in the house. We've always had piano in the house. We've always had, and we've never said to the children, or even to our children's friends if they come to the house, we've never said to them, don't touch anything. You know, they've always been allowed to touch the instruments, no matter how fancy or expensive they are, or, you know, how precious they are, because they're there to be used. They're there to be enjoyed.
mm-hmm.
You know, so
yeah. It sounds like a very open, welcoming environment that you raised your children in.
I hope so. We'd certainly hope so.
Let's talk about Jessies Well. Tell us how that started, and then if you want to set up the video that we have.
Well, as I said, Tim and I over, you know, many years had sort of done various sort of duo stuff together in France and Belgium, and then came back to Scotland and sort of worked as a trio with another friend of ours, and then had our children. And we kind of, as I said, sort of took a hiatus from playing and performing ourselves. And a lot of our focus went on, you know, the kids and work and, you know, life, you know. And now that the children have started getting older, our kids were involved here in Midlothian with a project called the Friday Night Music Project. which is a project that was developed by an amazing man by the name of Jake Herriot. And the whole premise of it was bringing children from all around the Midlothian area. It's quite a big area, and allowing them a place where they can come, where they can meet other like-minded children, where they can form bands, that we can develop their creativity, develop their writing skills, all that kind of stuff. So of course your kids get involved with these things and you get involved with these things. And there had been a shout for an adult's version of this. So we decided that we would go along and got very involved with it. And I think that restarted that was the catalyst for us to rethink, well, you know, we both love doing this. So let's start getting out there again and let's start playing again. And we'd been thinking about a name for ourselves. And we came up with the name Jessies Well, and there is a history behind that name. Because where my husband his family comes from in the north of Scotland, I think it was his great auntie was called Jessie, but she was sort of a young lady who used to enjoy going to church on a daily basis. This is the story. And as she went to church, she would pass the slate quarry. And she was very nice to the gentleman in the slate quarry. Very nice to the gentleman in the slate quarry. And when she passed away, I mean, she was very young. She was about 19 when she died. But what the guys from the gentleman at the quarry did is there was a spring, a freshwater spring at the bottom of this quarry, and they dug it out, and there's a stone there dedicated to Jessie, and they called it St. Jessies Well, and that's where the name comes from. So it's a connection, you know, to Tim's family, to a place in the north of Scotland that we love, and it fits our style. It's a style that we do.
Yeah, beautiful story and beautiful tribute. Before we pull up the video, do you want to set anything up about it?
Well, we were talking about earlier about things that, you know, inspiration for songs. This little song was one which was very much inspired by walking through the woods with the dogs in the sunshine, and feeling the warm sun on my face, which you'll hear in the song. And it's also one of the few songs which I did not write any guitar for. The finger picking guitar on this, it really does show off my husband's finger picking style of guitar playing. And he, you know, I sort of came back from the walk with this song in my head, and it was basically fully formed as a song, but without the guitar part. And he went, "Oh, I like that. Just no, don't touch. Let me play. Let me do the guitar part." And that's where it came from. So from a little walk out in the woods.
Right. All right. Let's go ahead and take a look. Give me a moment and let's pull that up. We'll share this. Okay.
Hi, folks.
Hi, folks. We're Jessies Well.
We thought we'd sing you a little song about sunshine today. It's such a beautiful day.
It's called Have You Ever?
Have you ever felt the warm sun on your face? Tipped your head back and happy to embrace every last street, cause you don't want anyone to go to waste. Have you ever felt the warm sun on your face? Oh, ever felt the warm sun on your face? Have you ever swum naked in the sea? Let the waves lap round you, let your body feel free. You can even do it with some special company. Have you ever swum naked in the sea? Oh, yeah. Ever swam naked in the sea? Taking a walk with your lover on the strand, dipping your toes in the soft, warm sand, catching snowflakes in your hand. Have you ever known a light so bright? Oh, yeah. Ever known a light so bright? Have you ever lain underneath the stars, contemplated what life would be like on Jupiter and Mars, surrounded by a blanket, flying from afar? Have you ever lain underneath the stars? Oh, yeah. Ever lain underneath the stars? Taking a walk with your lover on the strand, dipping your toes in the soft, warm sand, catching snowflakes in your hand. Have you ever known a light so bright? Oh, yeah. Ever known a light so bright? Have you ever felt the warm sun on your face? Tipped your head back in an effort to embrace. If your last street cause you don't want anyone to go to waste. Have you ever felt the warm sun on your face? Oh, yeah. Ever felt the warm sun on your face? Oh, yeah. Ever felt the warm sun on your face?
Stay safe, everyone.
All right, that was beautiful.
I forgot about the dog barking. That's our neighbour's dog.
Oh, okay.
The barking vocals, yeah.
Yeah,
Um,
right. Nice little added feature, and the birds too singing.
I know, it was lovely, lovely with the birds, yeah, yeah. But that's it. The whole premise of that song was all about, you know, have you ever really have you done that? Have you felt the sunshine? Have you swam in the sea? Have you lain underneath the stars? Have you just all these wonderful things that are around us? That sometimes we just take for granted, don't we?
Mhm. The beautiful lyrics, and it's such a testament to the power of nature. As you were saying, you were going through a walk in the woods with your husband, the dogs, and the sun, and then you were awe-inspired. And then through the song, you're also inviting us to also experiencing these things as well, under the stars, going for a swim, feeling the sun on our face. Really quite beautiful and really, to me, meaningful and deep lyrics.
Thank you, thank you.
Yeah. And also I wanted to point out, as you were setting up this video, Gabe, it sounded like it was an interesting collaborative effort, because you didn't write the guitar parts, as you were saying. You did all the other aspects of the song, but it was Tim. It sounded like he was super excited. Like once you presented to him, he's like, okay, I got that taken care of. Almost like he knew what he was going to create with it.
Wanted to do with it, yeah. He knew exactly what he wanted to do with it.
Yeah.
And it just one of these songs that just came together very, very quickly.
Mhm.
And just seemed to, yeah, it just seemed to work from the get-go. The there wasn't much, we didn't have to change much, we didn't have to do very much else to it, you know, than what you see is basically the original version of it. And we're still playing that, you know. Yeah, the harmonies are maybe slightly tighter, but apart from that.
Gay, talk to us a little bit about why the attraction to folk Americana.
I think it's I grew up with a lot of that kind of music. My sisters and brother are quite a bit older than me. I was very much the baby of the family. So they were already they were bringing in music, like James Taylor, Joni Mitchell, Carole King, you know, Tom Waits, so all lots of really these amazing artists from that early mid-70s, you know, and they've always stuck with me, and I think that singer-songwriter genre, you know, that was developed, that really came to the fore in the late 60s, early 70s. The way that they write really resonated and still does with me. There's an awful lot of storytelling within the songs, an awful lot of feeling, and folk music in itself. I mean, the whole premise of folk songs is telling stories. You know, it's that oral tradition of passing on information that you know that really drives folk music. So from that respect, for me, that whole narrative writing is, again, for me, is inspiring. So I suppose that's why I write the way I write, and enjoy to this day listening to that kind of music as well.
And it's a type of music that also really has something to say. Do you agree with that?
Absolutely, yeah, very much so, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Very much so, yeah. You know, there's been so many amazing songs that have come out of those genres, which have, you know, not only been great songs, but they've also been very inspiring songs. They've you know, stated very much a real sense of a moment in time, and situations. It's just, there's so much that can be that comes out of that kind of music. It's unbelievable.
Yeah.
You know, you could go on forever. But
You know, yeah, Gay, you know what? This would be a great time if you're up for it. Let's have another song from you, if you would, please.
Absolutely. Now this song, she says, as she's sipping on her green tea. I was talking about the Jessies Well Songwriters Club. Sorry, I'm just looking for my capo. Which, during the biggest lockdowns here, when we couldn't go anywhere, no one could go anywhere. I thought, wouldn't it be nice to try and connect with some fellow songwriters out there? And so I developed the Jessies Well Songwriters Club, and we have our song title challenge that we do every beginning of every month. And I've met some amazing people virtually throughout the world because of this. And we've had some amazing songs. So this one, actually, this title was inspired actually too high, was inspired by a gentleman by the name of Sandy Stewart, who actually is Scottish as well. And he actually just lives at the other side of Edinburgh to me. Where I live, we're sort of south of Edinburgh. And this gentleman lives in the north of Edinburgh. And the title was When Dreams Come True. And at first I thought, it's a bit cliched, that title. But he knew what he was doing. He knew exactly what he was doing. Sorry. Just a quick tune of the guitar. And this little song, this is where the last song was a very personal song. This song is a story. And it's a story about a young couple. Again, traveling, actually. Never really thought about that before. And finding love. He came from the Highlands. She came from Amsterdam. Two lonely travelers on the road to Vietnam. She thought he was funny. He thought she was cool. And they both agreed that traveling was better than school. And they wished on the stars that they'll always walk on the same track. 'Cause when your dreams come true, you never look back. No, you never look back. They drove into China, then into Kazakhstan. She sold her two-wheeler and they lived in his camper van, doing odd jobs for money that they kept in a cab. Two lonely travelers finding love between woman and man. And they wished on the stars that they'll always walk on the same track. 'Cause when your dreams come true, you never look back. No, you never look back. No, you never look back. and they wished on the stars that they'll always walk on the same track. 'Cause when your dreams come true, you never look back. No, you never look back. No, you never look back. Don't want to look back.
Yay, that was so beautiful. Thank you.
Dreams come true.
Yes, yes, what a beautiful message. Okay, we just have a few more minutes left. Where do you want to take your music? What would be fulfilling for you?
Next steps. Well, we have, Jessies Well as a, as a band. But Jessies Well's taking a bit of another turn as well. It's almost becoming a bit of a brand. We have our Songwriters Club. We have just recently started doing open sessions as well, Jessies Well open sessions as well. Our hope is at some point in time to actually work on an album. I think over this pandemic, we started off with the idea of recording a single, recording The Story Goes On. And then that turned into, we could record an EP. And now there's that, we have so many sort of original songs now that we've probably got enough for about 3 albums now. So I think that's the next step, is to actually do some recording and get that done. But of course, these things take time and money. So we've got to do a bit of saving up first before we can do that, or find someone who's nice enough to fund it. But I think that would be wishful thinking somehow. So yeah, so that's the next to keep. And we'll keep playing. I want to continue developing my solo side of things as well. My husband Tim, he does other music as well with another friend of ours who's an amazing mandolin player as well. So they have their thing that they do as well. And it's great because it kind of keeps everything fresh, if we're all sort of doing different other bits and pieces as well. So yeah, so just to continue developing all these bits and pieces that we've got, and hopefully come out of the other end of it in a sort of year's time or so with an album. That would be nice.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, we do need to close the show out. We like to leave our guests to provide the closing comments, and also please let us know how we can stay connected with you.
Okay. Well, thank you very much for having me on. As I said, for me it's a bit different, because I host a radio show on Sunday mornings here in Scotland for just an online radio station. But so I'm normally the one that is asking the questions. So it's been fun for me to be on this side of it. And thank you very much. I've enjoyed being here and enjoyed talking about, music and things. I think it's a great platform that you've got here, and wish you all the very best, continue with that. If anyone's interested in finding out a bit more about us, You'll find us on Facebook as Jessies Well, and YouTube as well, Jessies Well Music. And in amongst that, there's also there's the stuff we do. I do as a duo with my husband, but there is also solo stuff within there as well. And we also have our Jessies Well email as well, which is just jessieswellmusic@gmail.com as well. He's welcome to send us a little message and say hi, and if you're interested to find out more about us. But yeah, as I said, thank you so much, Leslie, for inviting me on today. It's just been wonderful.
Oh, thank you so much, Gay. It's been wonderful having you as our guest today on Art and Talk, and having you share about your music, your family, and your inspiration and performing for us. And I just wanted to add, because you said wishful thinking with the album that you want to put out, but I just have to say, dreams come true.
They certainly do.
So I had to add that in there. But seriously, much success with all that you're doing, and please stay in touch with us. Once that album is out, which I'm sure it will be, dreams do come true. So let us know, and we'd love to have you back and hear a couple of cuts from it.
Absolutely, we'll definitely keep in touch.
All right.
Definitely.
Okay,
Yes,
much success.
thanks, Leslie.
All right. Thank you so much, everyone, for watching Art and Talk. We appreciate the time you take to watch our art videos and to draw inspiration from them. Please stay connected with us on Facebook, on YouTube, and we're also on Twitter. And we will talk soon on the next Art and Talk. Until then, be well.